Hey Jack, it's good to see you.
How are you, Lou? How are you keeping?
Not too bad at all, not too bad. Obviously we saw the provincials return last week with a few preliminary matches.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like much more than a warm-up for this weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
So with the quarterfinals starting, I was thinking that the first game that really caught my eye was Kildare versus Meath in Leinster.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's possibly the toughest game to call.
It is, yeah, it's definitely a tight one to call. Kildare had a good year in Division 3 and Westmeath kind of had a bad year in Division 2, so the quality should be fairly similar. So I'd expect a tight game.
I would think so. Kildare were a little disappointed in the final. And I think their form at the end of the season tailed off a little bit. I think they've lost 3 of the last 4 in the National League.
Yeah.
So I think it will be a little tighter even than it would have been usually.
Yeah.
I was looking at Westmeath's defeats as well. And I know they had a really tough campaign, but a lot of them were quite narrow.
Yeah.
They didn't really get beaten heavily by many teams. But I just think Kildare with home advantage, and obviously they made the semi-finals last year, I just think they're probably going to have a bit too much.
Yeah, I think Kildare probably will just edge it. As you said, Westmeath didn't get too many heavy defeats, and it was a tough Division 2 there, lots of very good teams, but I think Kildare should have slightly more momentum coming in, even with the couple of defeats they've had, and as you said, the home advantage should be key.
Well, I also noticed you could back them at around 2 at both sports.
Exactly. They're both quite similar odds.
Yeah, so I was thinking it's a really competitive price, so I think that's a really good tip. That's probably what I'll be backing this weekend in that match.
I think even the bookmakers can't really call it because they're both fairly similar odds coming in.
That's always an interesting sign when they can't split them. So, but yeah, you have to look at those factors. I think home advantage and just Kildare probably just have a little bit more quality. So I think that's it's definitely how I'd back this weekend.
Yeah.
Another interesting game, I think, in the Ulster quarterfinal, Antrim against Armagh.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Now Armagh didn't have their best campaign in the National League, and they're missing a few players from their All-Ireland win last year. But I think they'll have way too much for Antrim. Antrim were poor enough in Division 3 and they kind of conceded a lot, which now they're coming up against a much better opposition that could be in trouble for them now.
No, I agree. I think although Antrim have got the home advantage, obviously Armagh, I know they reached the provincial final last year. Obviously went on to do well in the All-Ireland as well. Got a lot of firepower as well. You think of Conor Turbett and Rory Gugan did really well in the league campaign. And like you say, it's a 2 divisions low. It's a big gap in quality.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those games where I'm not sure you'd back. There's much value in backing. Armagh outright.
I was going to say, but handicap would definitely be the way to go here, I think.
100% I'd recommend a handicap on this one. Both sports are offering a minus 11.1.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you'd expect in this one, I think.
I think that's reasonable, and there's a lot more value in that than backing Armagh outright. So I think that's definitely one to consider. If you can find other handicaps you think might be maybe a little bit narrower, but I think minus 11 points reflects the difference in quality overall.
Definitely, yeah, I'd agree.
I think one that really comes as probably the easiest one to call is Wicklow against Dublin in Leinster. I mean, so what do you say about Leinster, the Leinster province? I mean, it's dominance, isn't it?
It's not much of a reward for Wicklow winning their preliminary game last week, against Longford. Go straight in to play Dublin.
It's too much. I mean, you think of I think it's 14 years on the bounce, and they haven't lost since that quarterfinal in 2010. It's just complete and utter dominance. I know Dublin had a slightly mixed league campaign.
Yeah.
But Wicklow themselves were only 4th in Division 3. And it was interesting. I found out. I realised the other day they have never beaten the Dubs in the Championship, which is absolutely
that'll continue anyway. I think unless we said.
But I think this is another one of those games where there's not a lot of value in the outright market, so it's another handicap match, I think.
Yeah, I think it's minus 18. That boys, I think they'll probably win by even more. If you could find a 19, 20, 21 handicap, I think that would be a good one too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is quite conservative, to be fair, but it's a price of 1.91, which isn't bad when backing Dublin in Leinster. So I think it's a good value bet, and just definitely avoid backing Dublin outright because I think it's like upward 0.01. There's no value anywhere. So.
The only thing, maybe it's been a couple of weeks since Dublin played. Maybe they won't have that sharpness, but Wicklow played last week, so I think there might be a lot taken out with them. Dublin should be more than comfortable. Yeah.
And once again, you've got that quality difference, haven't you?
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be a big win for Dublin this weekend. Another one I thought might be a close game. I don't know what your thoughts on it were, but Meath against Offaly in the support final.
I'm from Offaly, so I kind of have a bit of bias in this one, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely Offaly had a strong campaign now, and they looked a lot improved because last year they were pretty poor. But they won Division 3, which I was kind of surprised with at the start of the year. I wouldn't have expected that at the start of the year. And they're kind of coming in good form, but Meath are very strong. So it's going to be a difficult one for Offaly. But I think if you wanted an outside bet for the weekend, I think Offaly would be the one to go with. But Meath are probably the deserved favourites.
I would agree with you. I think it's close enough to say that Offaly would be, if you did fancy a bit of an outside pick, that'd probably be a good one. But I think you're right about Meath. They're quite strong. I think they've got a lot of firepower.
Yeah.
I think Ewan Frayne and Jordan Morris, I think they scored a lot of points, 79 in the National League, 3 goals. Offaly have got a good goal threat, I think. But
they do, yeah. Good forwards.
Yeah.
They might struggle a bit in midfield. They don't kind of have the height in midfield, and Meath have 2 big midfielders. Offaly struggled against Kildare when they had big midfielders, so that probably will see Meath edge it, but I'd love to see Offaly win.
Well, obviously, and I think, to be fair, I think whichever way you bet, you can get value in this match. And I was going to go with Meath. Just you can either get them outright at 1.44 with Betway, which isn't bad value, but you can also get them at a -3 point handicap at Ball Sports, 1.91. Given it's going to be a close game, I think I wouldn't go any higher than that on a handicap. I think it's going to be close enough, essentially quite high scoring as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Yeah, it's going to should be a tight one, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. The other Leinster quarter final, of course, is Louth against Laois. Again, I think that's probably maybe a slightly easy one to call. I don't know what your thoughts are on that one.
Yeah, I think Louth will be too much for them. They're strong in Leinster the last couple of years. They got beaten heavily in the final 2 years ago, but then last year they only lost by 4 points. So they're kind of getting closer to Dublin, and maybe if Dublin have a bit of a small drop off this year, Louth might be the closest contenders. But
I agree. Yeah, I think they were the latest unlucky team to face Dublin in the Leinster final, which is a bit of a thankless task. But they performed quite well, as you say. They were a lot closer this time. Obviously, Laos, they both seemed inconsistent in the National League, but obviously division apart. So I just think with home advantage for Laos as well, it's probably going to be a win. I'm not sure. I think they're about 1.17 outright at Ball Sports, which isn't great value.
It's a bit low, yeah.
But I wasn't sure whether I was confident enough to take a handicap out on this one. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I think it could be a tight one now. Leach had a good win last week. They won by 10, and I wasn't kind of expecting them to be that comfortable against Wexford. So they'll be coming in good form, and I'd say 5 or 6 points probably be all that's in it, I'm thinking. So a handicap.
Maybe a small handicap or just an outright win on that one, I think. But definitely, I think we both agree that Louth are probably going to be a bit stronger.
Yeah, they'll win. Yeah.
I think the last one of the weekends in the Ulster is Tyrone and Cavan. I also thought this was quite a fascinating matchup.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one now, I have to say. I think
out of all the games, it's the one that stood out in terms of potential excitement. It's also more unpredictable as well, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Cavan, Tyrone got relegated from Division 1. They had a few wins though. It was kind of an unlucky relegation in ways. But Cavan were kind of middle of the pack in Division 2. Yes, they had some strong performances, high scoring team. So I think Tyrone will win, but Cavan will definitely put it up to them for a lot of the game.
I agree. I think Cavan actually, they had a decent run as well. Won 4 straight wins at one point, and they were looking quite strong. But like I say, you've got that divisional issue. And like I said, Tyrone were relegated, but like you say, a lot of firepower in their team.
Yeah,
a lot of firepower. I think Darragh Kavanagh and Darren Curry scored a lot of points in the National League, a lot of goals as well.
They were kind of unlucky near the end of the league campaign that Canavan wasn't available for 1 or 2 of the matches. They probably might have stayed up if he was there, you know. Yeah, the good their last league game they beat Dublin, so they become
Yeah, that's a great result.
confident.
I think the head-to-head's interesting as well. I think Tyrone haven't lost to Cavan for 42 years. I mean, the head-to-head records sometimes, obviously, because there's a lot of past games, it's hard to measure it. You always look at the recent head-to-head, but sometimes when there's that longer sequence, can get into the heads of players as well, and affect the fans. So I just feel Tyrone will win. Again, there's not a huge value in backing them outright at 1.17. I found that on Ball Sports and Betway. But there's a 6-point handicap. You can get a price of 1.91 at Ball Sports.
I think 6 is probably right. I think it'll probably be tight for the most part, but then maybe Tyrone might pull away in the end and win by maybe 7 or 8. So
yeah,
I think maybe 6 might be the way to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't go higher than 6. I don't think. I think you'd be risking it then. I think it's not particularly calculated, but I think 0.91 at minus 6 points. I think it will be around a 5 to 6 point margin.
Yeah.
Or you can go on the safe side and just back Tyrone outright, but you're not going to get as big a return on that. Okay, so I think that's the games for this weekend. It should be a really interesting weekend of action, I think.
Should be.
There's a lot of good bet.
Unpredictable then.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's some games that offer a lot of value from a betting perspective, but obviously they're slightly tougher to call. But overall, I'd say if you're looking at games like Wicklow, Dublin, you need to go for bigger handicaps, get that value up, and just look at the difference between the two teams. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, you can check out all the prediction tips we have at the Betting Island site. You can also see our bookmaker reviews and the latest odds as well. So have a look and see what markets stand out to you, and see how you feel about some of the outright or handicap bets.